Okay, we are setting up the meeting.
Hello, hello, hello.
Live,
I
we
think
are
we're
live.
recording.
Okay, we are setting up the meeting. I can hear myself. Okay, so
Hello, hello, hello.
live,
I
we
think
are
we're
live.
recording.
Let's get into some healing. Welcome to the self-mastery success. How to effectively eliminate self-sabotage, elevate your energy, and lead in your work life to achieve success. We are all about creating excellence, and this is an interview series where we dive deep into the minds of high-performing leaders and industry experts to unlock the strategies behind their success. Each episode offers you invaluable insights that you can elevate your personal and professional life. Be sure to check out the description below for more details about today's guest, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on any actionable tips and strategies from these experts. Also, you can access exclusive gifts and resources from our experts that will support you on your journey to excellence and self-mastery. And today's guest is none other than Georges Cordoba. How are you, Georges?
Very good, Ivan. Thank you for having me in your show, and I'm honored and ready to share some good stuff with the audience.
Yes, most definitely. And so your story is so layered. I mean, from literally overcoming advanced cancer, melanoma, to really going through this journey of holistic health and like not for lack of a better term, transforming not only your life but the lives of others. And I'm so curious, and I think the audience would like to know as well. What was that journey like towards your healing? Like, what made you stop the traditional treatments, that the chemo, all of this, and you had what you had like melanoma, you had like stage 4 cancer, but you stopped these treatments. Like, what made you stop the traditional treatments that the doctors were trying to prescribe towards you taking that holistic health journey to heal and not doing any of those traditional treatments? Like, what made you do that? What happened?
Yeah, well, very simple. The stuff that I was on, and they tried everything. Believe me, melanoma at the time was still very hard to control, and it still is. But it wasn't working. All the stuff was not working for me, and I just had this intuition. Somebody that really believe and practice stuff from the inside out. And I knew I'm a person of faith, but I knew that I was clear on the eighth year, because I fought the disease for 10 years and I had 10 surgeries, four in my brain, and two gamma knives. So six procedures in my brain, craniotomies, and two of the tumors were of eight tumors I had that were not operable. They were in my back lobe. So we had to actually, even with gamma knives, they didn't respond, and they were growing slowly but surely. And they were just basically saying, well, we're gonna continue to watch that. But what made my decision really was simply that I was tired of, let's say, having a surgery, then treatment, then quote unquote remission, and then recurrence, and then so surgery again. Thank God for the surgeries, by the way, because I would not be talking to you, specifically the neurosurgeon who at the time was 38 years old, but was highly recommended for me. And but it really was taking a leap of faith and say, you know what, I'm gonna go with God's pharmacy, Mother Earth pharmacy. I'm gonna go natural, but that doesn't mean just going natural in terms of your food and all this stuff. But there's other areas in our holistic being that without a coach, I had to work on. But I was prepared to do that. The moment I made the decision, and I actually even said, all this stuff is my fault. I created this on me. but I have the power. And I had a lot of my tennis competition in there as well. And I use visualization and stuff. I had the power. If I got myself sick, I knew I had the power to heal myself, because it's on us. We have healing happens from the inside out, Devon. And what happens in many cases, and I feel blessed that I didn't, the mind goes to what is familiar. And what is familiar for us is to go to an oncologist when we get sick with cancer. Everybody, no exception. We just don't have anything else to think about, but hey, do you know a good oncologist I can go to? That is a mistake. But worse than that, if we're not careful, we give all our power to this employee, because you're employing this guy to help you heal. But you forget that the doctor becomes like your God in a way, and whatever he says, you do. So you, in other words, you become a patient. And I never really wanted to become a patient or have that label on me. I always, I would wait for my turn when I was going to the oncologist in actually the hospital's garden. And I asked the nurse practitioner to beep me. There were still beepers, to beep me when it was my turn. So I would avoid the energy of fear and stress that the ones waiting for their turn were displaying there, and the caregivers. I think because of my faith, but also my tennis years, because tennis really, other than soccer or basketball, baseball, it's you. You either win or you get your butt kicked. There's no tie. There's a winner.
Yes,
So
definitely.
it makes you some sort of like a warrior in a way. You study your opponent, and you look for weaknesses, and then you have to continue to maintain that mindset, because it's really, when you look at it, even in the pros, it's in the mind. They play pretty much the same, different styles, but they're great when you see them hitting the ball. But when the match comes, there is someone between the two that has a mental edge. And so I use that particular experience to at the end of the day, when I realized that it was my fault, I said, you know what, I'm gonna treat this like my toughest opponent. And so I did everything I needed to do to fight this thing, and never gave up. I had 5 young children at the time. Now they're older, the thing was too that on my Greek side of the family, I'm half Greek. When I looked at my family landscape, I felt like I was doomed. Most of my relatives, Greek relatives, died of cancer, including my dear mom, who passed away 3 weeks before my diagnosis. So if you saw the movie The Secret or stuff, I actually feared the disease. And when I got it, I thought, oh my goodness, I was right. I was going to be the next one. But after I went through the shock, whoever is anybody in the audience that has been diagnosed with cancer, that's not something that you want to hear, so. But after I went through the shock, this is not why me. I mean, no, they made a mistake. I need another biopsy, and all this stuff goes through it. I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to beat the odds. I'm going to be the first person in my family on the Greek side that survives this thing. And I went on my journey. Obviously, in the beginning, one of the 12 rules of the mind, like I said, is you go to an oncologist. I also have family members that are doctors, and one is a surgeon. In my book, in the back, he was one of the ones saying, hey, you're crazy. Keep going with your chemo and radio and all this stuff they're giving to you. And I told him, I said, look, I know it's not working for me. I mean, it's already year 8, and I keep going with this loop. I don't want to live this way. And I called him one time, I have to say this, and all this stuff. Like you said, somebody actually contacted me to do a movie with this story from the very beginning. I have the pitch to these screenwriters, but and I'm putting the story together from when I was little. But the bottom line was that I just said something said inside of me, no, I can't, it can't be. You give me the blessing of having five beautiful children, four boys at the time, and the younger one was a girl, is a girl. She'll be 30 this year in December. And you're gonna take my life now? I mean, what? I don't understand. This can't be. This can't be. Explain to me what's going on. Now that I look back at the whole process, I see my whole experience as a blessing because surviving, God gave me the chance to sing the song I was born to sing, which is helping people understand that, they need to really nourish themselves first. You cannot love anyone until you love yourself. You need to take time for yourself, time that is not renewable, by the way. Yesterday is gone, and tomorrow is not there yet. It's today. But when I go visit with my wife hospice places, the first thing they say, man, if I had 10 years of me, I would do the things that I always say one day I will do. Because time is not a renewable situation. We're all gonna go. So that brings me to another thing, real quick. And then I know, but to finish the question, it wasn't really that hard. It just wasn't working. And then I obviously prayed a lot. I meditated. I already studied. But the moment I started to think that, and then I said, yeah, I'm going to stop. It's almost like the universe, God started to conspire. I was taking action on my faith. Faith without action is like a magic wand. It doesn't work. You have to take action with what you really believe is going to happen. Faith is the certainty of what you want, but you have to take action. If you don't take action, there's no magic wand. But if you take action, somehow everything starts really falling in place. And I call it in my best-selling book, I call it angels started to come in the form of humans to help us. Myself, my wife, and my 5 kids at the time. And I had to pretty much, almost 18 months into the process, I had to really miss a lot of work. And I was a technology executive, CTO, Chief Technology Officer, and at the moment, and I had no idea how the disease was going to really damage my career and my projects. And when I started to missing time, I lost some key employees in my teams, and that I had to worry about replacing that talent because it was not easy. And that's because they were wondering if I was going to come back, or it happens when you're a leader. Sometimes people get attached with the chameleon effect, and so it was a rough 10 years. I call it a mountain, and my key as a speaker, my keynote is you can move your mountains. And for me, the steepest one was an advanced cancer, advanced melanoma with meds in the brain eventually. So yeah.
That's very accurate, definitely a mountainous journey for sure. And you said a lot of things where I hope the audience is catching this, because you had a foundation in which to build upon. So, and you had like your environment influences from, let's say, your tennis upbringing,
Mm-hmm.
inspirations. But you didn't shy away from the evidence that was in front of you, is what
Yeah.
I'm experiencing from you. Like you saw that you was in pain. You saw that, oh, there's a history of your family being in pain. You also saw that your family is hurting because you're hurting,
Mm-hmm.
and then you decide to make the change. And so I know that kind of propelled you to be going on your holistic health journey. And a lot of people are not really convicted or disciplined to continue that even though they've had like a major scare, like they resort back to what was causing them so much pain all these years. And so my
Hmm.
question to you is, along your holistic journey, there's a phrase I like, you can't heal what you never reveal. And so what is it about you that you had to reveal in order to heal what you need to heal? Like what is it? What are some key things that we have to reveal about ourselves if we want to truly heal like what's going on in every aspect of our life that we know is hurting us and but we shy away from often.
Hmm. Great question, by the way, Tiban. Oh yeah, here's how that whole thing started. I all of a sudden have my first diagnosis that I have a brain tumor in the
Mm.
front lobe. It was kind of like a line, a key line. Uh, maybe it was quite large. I was losing a little bit of my vision. I was stuttering, and they had to really, and it was operable, thank God. And
Yeah.
but before that, um, I knew that, and we had scheduled the procedure, and the surgery was a 10-hour surgery, by the way. And so I called my buddy, tennis players. Well, we grew up together. We were in the national junior team. He also came to the States to play. He played for UCLA. I played for New Mexico State.
Mhm.
He became a doctor, and a good doctor. And so I call him. I say, look, I know you have the day off today, and so why don't you come home before the kids come from school, and you get into the New England Journal of Medicine. You have access to it, and I just want to know what who my opponent is now that it went to my brain. And I say, hey, I'll just have a little wine, or what you prefer, a beer or whatever. He said, oh no, don't worry about it. Just come over. I mean, I'll be there. And so he comes, and we're in the. I don't. It's in my book, but we sit in the dining room, and I have my laptop already on. So he signs in, and he starts reading about melanoma going to the brain. And again, also his parents after World War II migrated from Italy to Venezuela. So he was all of us were like first generation Venezuelans, but we're Mediterranean folks. And Mediterraneans, as you know, if you're in London, we're very emotional. I mean, we are very emotional, and Greeks, Italians. So he's 6'4". He's sitting there, and I notice that he starts dropping a couple of tears. And I go, what's up? And let me read it. And so he stands up. I sit down to read it, and he said that my situation, I had a 4% chance of survival, and probably will be gone within 3 and 6 months. And so I read that, and I look at him. I get up as well, and I say, well, his name is Stefano. I said, Stefano, let me ask you a question. Why can't I be one of those 4%, those four that survive? In fact, I will be one of those four. And so to answer your question, I had this, in a way, I had the mind and the heart of a child. If you look at not only Jesus, many of the spiritual avatars in history,
Yeah.
they always point out to have the attitude of a child, that 9-year-old that we all have. I think I really tapped into that. I was acting. When I saw that 4%, I thought, I'm not a statistic, but I'll be one of those four. And you know
Mm.
what I did? I started to search for those four in surviving melanoma, and I found two.
For
One
real.
in Tampa, Florida, and one in Minnesota, in the state of Minnesota, and Minneapolis. And and it was amazing what we had in common in terms of our attitude and our view of things. And then the other thing, and this is really key, I have on my book became a bestseller on day one, by the way. It has all my story and you know, how I did to really go natural in the things that I worked on. But I have to share this. I was not a seeded player in the tournament. I was actually, yes, I was. It was a national. It was a South American championship, and I was 17th, 18th seeded. So no way, you know, based on the stuff that I would be going forward after the fourth round. But it turns out that I had some great wins and I got to the finals. And I had to play my role model, man. I mean, this guy also from Venezuela, of parents from Germany, welcome man. No, from actually London, from the UK. Don't know exactly where, but I grew up. He was always 7 years older than me, an amazing Davis Cup player and this and that. In the semifinals, I beat one guy in that caliber. So we start playing the match. The final was 3 out of 5 sets, and I was winning. I was winning the first set. I won the second set. He won the third set, and then on the fourth set, I'm winning. I'm actually ahead a break, and then but he managed to win that set. On the fifth set, I'm ahead, and he managed to beat me 7-5 in the fifth. It was almost a 5-hour battle. But what I want to say is both of us were taught by this amazing, we call him the Master Savi, a guy from France, but that was actually working with the you know, in Venezuela. And so he came to watch the match. And both of us, I mean, I was honored that he showed up and they gave him a special seat in the place. And so when I finished, both of us actually, we got our trophies and we went to embrace Francois Savi. And so we say hi, whatever. Freddie Wilkerman left, and he says, George, you are playing amazing. How are you doing in college, this and that? I follow you sometimes when they put stuff here in the paper. But, you know, you lost here. You had the match. You lost here. You got to work on your mind. What was it? Because he's your, you know, for you, he was one of your heroes or your role models. Kind of, yeah, I guess. I mean, I never really, you know, so I get home. That was on a Sunday. I was coming back to the States Friday, the next week to come back to do my senior year here. And I get home and my mom said, hey, Mr., you know, your teacher, Francois Savi called. He wants to take you to lunch. Wow, for me it was an honor. I mean, you know, we grew up with this guy, an amazing player too. He played for France. And anyway, I call him and we set up to go. This was on a Thursday. So, so I go to lunch with him. And again, you know, we're talking about school and what I was studying and my tennis. And he said, my goodness, you know, your volley and this and that. And I have a present for you. I want to give you something. And I call this in my book, A Gift for Life. And it's going to answer your question right now. He gives me this book. He goes, well, I couldn't get it. I really couldn't get it, but here's the title. When you get to the States, order it, buy it, and read it. Read it before you start your senior season. It's going to help you tremendously with your tennis. But not only that, George, it's going to help you sometime in the future, the rest of your life. The book is titled The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Murphy.
Yeah.
And so I got it. I started reading it. I started applying everything that this guy was talking about the combination between your conscious mind and subconscious mind. And man, it improved my tennis. I mean, I was comeback man of the year in my conference, you know, being down 4-1 in the third set and end up winning and stuff like that. I would visualize myself shaking hands, and I'll be the one, the victor, you know. So, when I got sick, especially when I decided to go natural, I used a lot of visualization techniques that I learned with that book. And then this coach from Yugoslavia, he was Croat, but before the war, it was from Yugoslavia that taught us how to do mental rehearsing. And so I used a lot of mental rehearsing to make the decision and also to heal myself. Because by the way, I do have a giveaway where I have some stuff related to the rules of the mind. It's so powerful. You know, this is how it goes. And I took it with faith. You know, like I said, it's a certainty of what you want because you know that if you take action, and like a kid, I took action on this. This guy explains in the book, I recommend this book, just like I recommend mine. I actually mentioned this guy, Murphy, but he said he used the analogy of the captain of a ship, a cruise ship, that has machinery folks in the lower level that they don't know where they're going. They just take orders from the captain and they just do what the captain says. And he goes, that's us. The captain is your conscious mind, and whatever you tell your subconscious mind, they'll do it. So I started really saying in the present moment, because the mind doesn't know tomorrow or yesterday. The mind knows, that's another rule of the mind. It knows now. So you're not gonna say, oh, in January I'll be healed. No, I'm healed today. I am healed. I am healed. Thank you for healing me. You know, I am healed. And then I would look, you know, the mind. Another rule of the mind is it does what you say, what you visualize, or what you think. So whether it's true or false, it just does it because it, you know. So if we learn those rules and put them to action, and that's something that I have as a giveaway, you will move your mountains. If it's drug addiction, it could be smoking cigarettes, divorce, alcoholism, whatever mountains people are going through, they can move them. Okay, and you know, all you have to do is take action and understand that you have the power. Healing happens from the inside out. Pharmaceuticals don't want to let you know. They might know this, but they don't want to say anything. And I don't even believe that they're going to find a cure, especially for some of the chronic diseases like cancer. It's too big of a business. You know, it's just, there's no way. And plus, it's very, you know, and if people understand, my wife sometimes says, man, George, as I hear you talk, and when you're talking, and then you have everybody, but not everybody's like you. I say, well, because they don't know it. We all, at the soul level, all of us are the same. And all our components, man, we're all the same, and we all have so much power in our mind. And when you understand that you can control your subconscious mind, I just finished with a lady from London, something called rapid transformational therapy to add more value to my clients. It's about hypnosis, Marisa Peer. And you know, I added it to my 90-day protocol because it's so powerful to go back in there. You see, here's something that very important to understand. I hope I answer the question, but all disease, two things. They start in an inflamed body, like I told you before we started, but also all disease are emotional. And here's the deal, most people will get recurrences because they have not really addressed the root cause that later manifested in your body, and it's usually emotional. So if we work on clearing our emotional clutter and we learn how to do the balanced pH, you are taking a good grip of what's really attacking you. And we haven't mentioned chemo and radiotherapy. That works 50% of the time. But there are some things in there that, you know, being there for 10 years, But I was really blessed because when I made the decision to go natural, I talked to my oncologist, and he said, "Are you sure, Georges? Are you sure you're doing this?" And he said, "I'm very sure, but I like to ask you for a favor. I would like for you to continue to do my follow-ups." And he said, "Great. Some oncologists will say, no, unless you're in chemo, I'm not going to work with you." That's, because, by the way, there is a price component there when the pharmas go to the doctors, any doctor, but particularly with chemo, they have a couple of options for that type of cancer, and they have a wholesale price, which then the doctor marks it up to the client, and therefore, if you have insurance companies, it is just crazy. And I didn't do that. At that moment, I was like, I wasn't even thinking of that. I was just really focused on my healing, and it wasn't working for me. Some people ask me, but how did you have that courage to just do it? And that's where I think is surrendering, understanding that I had that power, which we give away as we grow up. Intuition, that gut feeling that we have, that's our best coach. But as we grow up, no, no, Devon, no, 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 don't listen to yourself. Listen to your dad, to the pastor, to your teacher. And we start giving this power away. And then when we're sick, we give it to the doctor. So
Speaking about this
why?
earlier.
Yeah, it's if we understand that, you can continue. I don't push any of my clients to do what I did, although there's 8 million Georges out there that decided to go natural and they're walking around without problem. This past July was my 12th year free of cancer. And yeah, amen. And then my whole thing now, when I see the world stats, is, man, don't become the statistic. Just nourish yourself, and if you are kind of like thinking in a little bit that you need to change your ways, and somehow do it, because that's your intuition to say, if you keep this way, you're gonna have a medical bill soon. So yeah.
Yes, Georges. Audience, if you remember, you get to surrender to what you don't know and really understand yourself on all levels, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, because that's what allowed Georges to make intentional decision, a firm decision, and it allowed him to trust himself. And allowed him to defy the odds. And we are designed to defy the odds. We don't have to do the things of the pharmaceutical way. We can do it our way and it gets to work because
Yes.
what, whatever created us is greater than whatever disease. The solution came before the problem, is what I'm hearing. And we get to understand that for ourselves. Take hold of the power of our
Yeah.
subconscious mind, take the power of our healing capacity.
Yeah. And
And yeah.
And it is, I'm sorry, I think I got you, but it is a really a holistic approach. For example, I was getting all these recurrences, and it wasn't until I really explored my emotional clutter,
Mm.
that because all disease is emotional, but I learned this 2 years ago. I had no idea when I was sick, but something I was meditating and praying for discernment. And so, I somebody landed me a book called Emotional Intelligence. And as I was reading that, I really said, see, like when you seek, you find. And as I said, different angels came to my life and I took it. I just said, wow, Lord, thank you. I mean, it was crazy. And it wasn't until I worked on the area of forgiveness, forgiving others, being forgiven, and then forgiving myself, that when I deal with that clutter and worked on it, my recurrences stopped. They just stopped. They never came again. And so, the whole thing with oncology and all this stuff is they do what they learn, which, by the way, in most universities, in most countries, the medical curriculum is dictated by the pharma. So, you learn, you're becoming part of their team without knowing it, even if you're not going to be an oncologist. Because if you're not an oncologist, you have the freedom to sell drugs
Hmm.
and legally.
Yeah.
And when you read the little tiny stuff in this medical stuff, you can see that it's very dangerous, and they cover themselves, but they put in very little. This could cause this could cause that, it could give you blindness, whatever. Yeah, so
Fine
yeah.
print, yeah, they definitely put it. It's
Yeah,
crazy. It's
I
wild.
have to share. I have to share this real quick because you nailed it, man. I really commend you. You talked about the body, the emotions, the mind, and the spirituality, and that's what I do. I use the four legs of the table metaphor. I work first in my 90 days. I work one of the legs of that table is your physical self. The other one is your emotions, your emotional body, your mental body, and your spiritual body. That not necessarily has to be religion. It's just how you are connected to this source through other people. Like I say, you and I, we are soulmates. We have the same soul. I
Hmm.
mean, we're brothers, and people have to understand that. But embracing nature, go and hug a tree, and just get that energy, that healing energy that tree's given, and you give it back. And it's just, if you know why this sounds very, kind of like crazy, like wow for many people, I
Yeah.
tell you why. Because we don't give ourselves time to be in silence. Nobody's putting a gun in our head, Devon, to do other stuff. We start with nourishing ourselves. When the more you feel good about yourself, the more you're open also to receive. And I'm writing two books right now. I'm almost done with one, The Healing Power of Forgiveness. And then the other one is the Miracles Formula. And I'm telling you, if people take themselves, even wake up 10 minutes earlier and just breathe for a while, just breathe and be thankful that you open your eyes, because you know what? We don't know if we're going to open them tomorrow. We just don't know. We cannot bet, oh, I'll be my dad passed on his sleep. Bless his soul. No, no, no. But it could happen. It could happen that we have an accident. When I'm interviewed or presented to do a talk, my first thing to break the ice is, hey, raise your hand if you're terminal. And whether it's 5 people or 1,200 people, there's always two or three that very shyly raise their hand. And so I go, well, for those who didn't raise their hand, if this was a test you flunked, we're all terminal. We just don't know when, but we're all leaving. We came and we're grateful for this, but there's gonna be a day that we're going to another place. And so people kind of like, so let's do it again. And everybody raises their hand. But there's a point for that. And then I said, well, before I get started, I have another question for you. Raise your hand if you're absolutely sure that tomorrow morning you will be opening your eyes. And nobody raises their hand. They got the message.
Hmm.
But then I say, you see, this is all mindset. Because if it was your doctor and you're going through a chronic disease and they tell you, man, go home and try something else, we couldn't do it. Oh, you're telling me this after 4 years and $250,000 or pounds, and now you're telling me go and find something else out now, you
Crazy.
know. So it is crazy because I've seen even movies, but I actually had a very nice, became very good friends with this younger lady as we were doing the chemo together. 8 of us started the same day with melanoma. I was the only survivor, by the way, of all 8. But this lady, Camila, um, she would not open up to anything. I would say, look, I found these shrooms that are very good for the immune system. I found this and that. No, I don't believe in that stuff. I just want to continue to be in the sun with my daughter. She had a 4-year-old daughter, and she passed. But one of the other guys, his name Nelson, he was told that he was terminal, and he did not last a month after that. He went home and died. You know, that's giving the power to somebody else. I have to give you this one other thing real quick. I was being interviewed at a podcast, and this lady saw me, a lady from Australia, and she immediately called her mom. It turned out that her brother, 38-year-old guy, was sent home with morphine and steroids just because they said, we have nothing else to do. I mean, you just send them to die. But she heard my story and called her mom. I didn't know about this, but I received this email from her, from mom, Sally, and she explained me about, Ryan. And so I said, well, boy, this is a first. But again, remember the 4 legs of the table. I said, well, we could work on the emotional part and definitely the spiritual part, getting ready for his transition. And so we had a discovery session, a clarity session, and I prayed before that. I'm a Reiki master as well, so I do some signs and try to receive this universal love energy, which for us Christians is the Holy Spirit. It's a love energy, or no matter what your philosophy is, that is real and that is healing. So I said, look, let's do this, Sally. Let's go week to week, and let's start today. And she goes, yeah, okay, Matt. It was always the next day. Like for me, it was 5:30 in the afternoon on Mondays, and for them, it was the morning on Tuesday. So he was waking up with his morphine. He did not talk. He was just looking at me, and if he liked something, he would go like this, thumbs up. But I have to say this. I said, well, I'm not God, but I'm an instrument. So let's work with him and see. 2 weeks. After the second session, by the way, an amazing tennis player, and his doubles partner, they're from Melbourne, but he was living about 2 hours from, out of Melbourne with his mom. He couldn't live alone. And he broke up with his girlfriend. That was part of his initial stuff. But in any case, his doubles partner is also a physical therapist. So every Friday he will go there and massage him and do stuff, to kind of like get him out of bed, put him on a wheelchair. So it was Friday. We did a Tuesday, second Tuesday. On Friday, when Eddie, his name is his friend and doubles partner, they had him downstairs, and Mom and Eddie were talking in the kitchen, and he called them both. And when they go in, he was standing. He was standing from the wheelchair, and he said, "Mom, I want you to ask the doctors to put me off of the morphine. I don't need morphine. It's keeping me like a zombie." So they called the doctor, and the doctor said, well, still with that mindset, the guy's going to die anyway, that's their vision. And so they took him out, within a week, they took him all the way out. On the third week, he asked Eddie and his mother to hold him and walk around the block. And so they went out and they walked around the block. And obviously, Sally was always keeping me up to date, day by day. It's like she couldn't wait until the next session. So, and I'm thinking, wow, Lord, this is amazing. This is it's only you. And on week 3, he still had not said a word to me, but he was more alert. because he was out of the morphine. On week 4, he asked Eddie to walk, not to walk him, but to walk to the tennis court, which was about 1 kilometer away from the house where they used to work out from, and as kids. They grew up together in that neighborhood where mom was. So they walked, and then they walked back. He said, should we call your mom to pick us up? No, no, no. And he walked it. To make it short, 2 months later, he's at the beach and still with some cognitive issues because his cancer, and we have to understand that disease was pretty advanced and it was really destroying his neurons and also his spine. And but man, he started making strides to the point that he asked, and this is within a month, to start taking the steroids away little by little. So here you go. He was sent to die, and somehow he opened up to the stuff that we were talking about and put it to action. Obviously, I gave him recordings. I had already finished my hypnotherapy, so we did some stuff on emotional clutter that, he never said a word. Towards, like, it was maybe week 9 that he said, "Hi, Georges." And I go, "Wow, you talk." But man, he was a sponge listening and putting things to action. And have you heard of Joe Dispenza?
Oh yeah, of course, of
Yeah.
course.
He was before me. He was working. He was doing some of the diets that he recommended and doing some meditations with Joe's. An amazing story for Joe Dispenza as well, man. A great another one. You see, with the power of the mind and wonderful guy, man. And so to make it short, we do have the capacity to heal ourselves. I'm not, if I get a migraine, the mind plays games sometimes. I get them sometimes because of my sinus. And in the beginning, I would wonder, man, it's just saying, gosh, but then I know real quick how to shift that because it's a mindset. It's something that don't allow it to come in, and I would protect myself, Divan, before I was going to the streets. Even when I decided to go natural, I would protect myself to answer some things because what happens, that people don't do it on purpose, but they go, "Hey, Georgie, how you doing, man? How you doing? How you coping?" And they were, and I just said, "Man, I'm doing great. How you doing?" "I'm doing awesome. Looking in my eyes, I feel great." And so they would really stay quiet. I said, "My goodness, this guy went crazy or what?" Yeah.
No, I hear you. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, people like to assume and project themselves upon you, because they feel that how they're feeling about your reality is your reality, but their feeling about your reality doesn't dictate your reality. And that's another
Yeah.
story. I'm curious. We're gonna put bring this to an end, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
You had a free gift for the audience that you wanted to share, or tell
Yes.
the audience about what you have to share.
Yes, this is great. And by the way, I have a session, but they'll understand. They know I mean this is a coaching session. But yeah, I have a link that I'm going to share with you, so the audience can use it, and you're going to be able to download key documents that I use for my coaching, including a forgiveness. It's a recording of forgiveness meditation for men and one for women. There is a how to water tips. Many of us do not hydrate ourselves enough, and we need that. And also some tips to sleep. And that's one thing that a lot of folks have a problem with. And by that happening, we're not honoring our human cycle, which is 24 hours. We're supposed to detox and restore when we're sleeping. And there are
Yes.
some tips in there For example, many people don't eat during the day, but at the end of the day, they eat a cow before they go to bed. So instead of digesting, instead of detoxing and restoring, we're digesting for a few hours. So we're breaking that beautiful cycle that we need to honor. Okay, there's also an ebook that will tell you how to balance and actually explains all the myths about the pH balance in your body. But if you manage to have a balanced pH and you are sick, you are destroying the environment for the cells to thrive little by little because there's no acidity in your body. You're eliminating it.
Mm.
Or if you want to prevent disease, make sure that you don't have, like we talked about, all disease starts in a chronic disease in an inflamed or acidic body. So avoid that, and you will not. It will be tough even for you to catch a cold. Your immune system will be so ready to do stuff. So that's another one. And then I also offer there the rules of the mind, a very powerful document where you can see it and really put it into action, some of these rules. And the mind, by the way, learns by repetition. So in the beginning, your ego is going to say, "Oh, come on, Devan, you don't believe this," and then you keep repeating it in the present moment, and to the point that it happens. It then it starts working with the subconscious mind, and things start to happen. You do all this harmonious stuff to yourself, and you will heal, and you will not get sick either. So,
And this can
yeah.
be found at kelvita.com, correct? Is it?
No, it's that's the website.
Mhm.
There, if they want to, they can download the ebook that
Okay,
I
yeah, so,
mentioned.
so yeah, okay, so yeah, if send me the links and then we'll add that into the show notes and the
Yes,
description.
for sure. So they can go in and download this stuff. It's very valuable. That copy is very valuable, and you'll see that it's simple. It's simple stuff that you're gonna see there, but it's not easy because we're not used to that. We have other habits. We have self-sabotage, as you mentioned, sabotage, that we need to catch and say, sometimes some other people sabotage us because internally they're not so happy and they don't want you to succeed. So all this stuff is, a lot of this stuff is in there, and I'll be so happy for people to at least tap into that and read that with at your pace, and listen to that forgiveness meditation, because forgiveness is healing, whatever mountain you're going through. So yeah, and I appreciate you having me on the show. Hopefully, if I'm in London at one point, I'll reach out and look for you. And or if there's any retreats or things like that, we never know. With me, I found you and need a guest, but I don't just go to any podcast. I look and I say, this is where I believe I would fit the best. And sometimes with what I have, like you said in the beginning, I mean, this applies to everyone, whatever you do in your life, especially, it is amazing how disease really hurts. Definitely, for lack of a better word, hurts your career. Not only your personal and family life, which is really the key, that's first, but, having to deal with a new routine because suddenly you have to do that on top of what you already were doing. It's not easy. It's really tough. Yeah.
And again, George, is like, thank you for understanding and empathizing with not only yourself but the world in terms of the fact that it's not easy, and the fact that you're being a stand for transformation,
Mhm.
or rapid transformation in the world, and you're being a stand for what's not conventional but what is true. And I firstly want to say appreciate you and
Thank you.
sharing your wisdom with the audience. And audience, again, thank you for tuning into another episode of Self Mastery Success. Please share the key insights and valuable takeaways that stood out to you the most from today's conversation. Remember, share your thoughts in the comments because we love to hear your perspective. And don't forget to Click that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the latest expert interviews. And you can also click the notify me button to receive a reminder for when we go live with these interviews so you can join us and ask questions in real time. Just remember, every expert in this series has gifted you some incredible resources and tools to support you. And you can find that in our gifts page in the description below. And even more info about today's guest. So remember, self-mastery success, achieving excellence starts with aligning your goals, your time, and energy. And we're here to guide you and lead you yourself every step of the way. See you on the next one. Take care. And thank you again, Georges.
Thank you. Appreciate it.